to Gullah Business of Charleston. We're here for another exciting interview, and we're here with the digital creator of Sarcastically Woke, Lou, right here. So my name is Tiffany Savage. I'm the vice president of Gullah Business of Charleston, and I have the president here, but she can introduce herself.
Hello, everyone. Thank y'all for tuning in. My name is Nicole Pringle, and I'm the president of Gullah Business of Charleston.
And so we're here for this exciting interview because this is a hot topic that I would think it spans forever and ever. It could go on and on and on. But we're here with one a digital creator that has an upcoming event coming up very soon. It's Battle of the Sexes, where he's gonna be diving in on some hot topics, relationships, how we view men and women in our society. Do men have it harder than women? The list can go on, and he's bringing an event that's going to be worth even the trip. You guys need to tune into it, and he'll share more information on it. But we have here with us the digital creator of Sarcastically Woke, and so we're going to just go ahead and begin. So, Lou, thank you for joining us. We really do appreciate you taking the time, coming on our platform, doing this with us. We've been noticing your work for a while. We're excited. We've seen the past content, that you be putting out. And so I'm telling you, when you look at some of your content, it does have you thinking some questions over it. It be bringing up some good discussions. Because me and my girl have looked at some stuff like, what in the world? Like, it really caused you to think. And so, what made you start this podcast? And why did you call it, or name your brand Sarcastically Woke?
What made me start this exact podcast? It started actually before I actually got to where I'm at now, right? Last year, I went to the Black Effect Festival, and I saw all the podcasts and the camaraderie as far as the people just there just for conversation. I was so surprised by the turnout they had out there that for people who just wanted to talk. The interesting thing I noticed at that actual show was the content creators that actually had substance, like who really want to talk about something deep. There was less crowd response from those conversations compared to all the ratchet and the wild and the wild stuff. You know what I mean? But for me, it really took to me because I realized, well, I have that same idea, and I also have the ability to. I feel like I can reach certain people. So I wanted to see how I can use my creativity, use my background in music, all my connections, the people who I have connections to within this, especially within the city of Charleston, South Carolina. I wanted to see what I can do with my reach and bringing these brothers together, brothers and sisters together, to see what we can do. But the journey of that started back in 2020 during the COVID time. And it was because I noticed when I was watching like the whole George Floyd situation, it really touched me and it made me start talking. I didn't know what to do with it yet, but I just know that I was always constantly speaking on stuff. I was getting involved. I was outraged. I was angry. I was mad. I was hurt. I was sad. I was talking to my son. I just felt I felt so much energy that I needed to give it out. So I started buying equipment. I started really researching it. But I didn't actually pull the trigger fully until, again, I went to that event. And then after that, I had a shift and I never stopped. And the funny thing about it is the Black Effect Festival was on the 21st of April of last year, and my show was on the 19th. So I did it on the anniversary of my shift. And this is my homecoming. This is me like, hey, we're here now. So that's what.
Awesome. And
And we missed it. How did you come up with the name
Oh yeah,
Sarcastically
yeah.
Woke?
mhm.
So sarcastically, well, it came from the fact that I consider myself to be a very aware, open person. Like I've always was in my own head, but I was like, even as a kid, I remember I picked up like $5 one time. I was walking to the bus stop, I found $5, I picked it up, and then I had a horrible day, and I was like, okay. I looked at it the next day, and then the next time I found money again, and I recognized I had another bad day. Like this, something I could not control occurred, and I was like, maybe that's karma. I'm not gonna do that anymore. In any situation, I always recognize the patterns of things because I was very aware. So I feel like I've always been awake or awoke. right? I think that way always. I have to get and understand something, so I dig into things on a constant basis. And sometimes I try not to dig into stuff because I know how my mind works. I have to get the answer. So my awareness is the reason why I say woke and sarcastic is because of the fact that I'm very just sarcastic as a person. I'm unfiltered, and I kind of say that's just how it was. So I got popped in the mouth most of my life as a kid because of how I am, and I was okay with it. I accepted it. I was fine with it. Like you can ask my dad or my mom. I knew I was gonna get slapped in my mouth after I said what I said, but I felt that way. So I don't see like I felt like I shouldn't be in trouble for speaking my mind, but that's life, right? So I'm very sarcastic as a person. I don't really have much of a filter, but I am truthful to a default. So sarcastically woke.
Okay. So how do you come up with your ideas for your podcast and even the new one that you have coming out, The Battle of the Sexes?
Mm-hmm.
My ideas. Funny thing about it is a lot of my ideas just come out of my head. Like I've been a type of guy who's always interacted. I probe. I look into things, as I said. Like even as a teenager, I will see somebody at the lunch table. I just sit next to him, like, "What's up? You all right?" Like I don't know why I did. I don't know why I was like that, but I just wanted to connect and deal with people. But I also noticed when I did that, it made people open up to me a lot, and I started recognizing patterns between everybody. I noticed like men and women. I kept noticing all these patterns of like, well, I feel this way, I feel that way, and recognizing like, well, sometimes in my head I'm like, it's you, or sometimes I'm saying, well, it's you because of what you accept, or it's you because of how you feel about yourself, or it's and you have some trauma you should work out, right? You should work on that, and the fact that I've always done that and noticed that thing, no matter who I'm talking to, a lot of these subjects are just in my head, literally. So yeah, if I do see a clip online that I can use at my advantage, I will do that because a lot of stuff sticks with me. I can tell, but it's really just what's on my mind. So when it comes to subjects, it's how I feel. I can be driving and all of a sudden it just flows. So all of my subject are my thoughts. And um, again, as I told you before, I'm wired to understand and I'm wired to try to get to the bottom of something. And right now, with the way God shifted me, my shift is more so for our people and to, push them towards the direction where we can come closer together. So that's really where all my ideas come from. It's what I see and what I feel. And it just usually most people hit me a DM say, "Hey, I was right on time." I don't know where that came from, but I was going through the same situation, and that feels good to me to hear that. So that's where it comes from. I really don't look up stuff. I just kind of just it comes to me now. So
And just to piggyback on what you were mentioning about the different topics that you bring, to your podcast, one in particular, I know your upcoming event, Battle of the Sexes, but you talk about a whole list of different things that affect the community. Like I saw a podcast you recently did on health in our communities, and you do it on different ranges. I just out of curiosity, how when you do those topics and those trends, just like you said, it just pops in your mind, but I guess the best way I can explain it or ask this question, which topic do you feel has been the most surprising one that you've gotten like a reaction to, would you say?
I would say, well, okay, men and women conversations always men and women conversations always cause triggers, so that's never going to end. If I say, but I think the biggest one is accountability. The accountability to me seems like it always triggers people to respond or say something because accountability is based on how you review it. Some people take accountability as something bad, or me saying like, "Hey, just accept what you did and move forward." That's still taking accountability, but it's looked at the wrong way. So even if I say like hypothetically, like let's say a situation where I'm speaking to a female and she's saying, "Well, all guys are this way and this and that third," I'm gonna ask you, "Well, what are you looking for? What are you looking for in men? How did you not see this? Everybody tricked you? Like, you know what I mean? Like that everybody was able to trick you? How's that possible? Like, you know what I mean? So accountability. When I post stuff when it comes to accountability, whether it's for a guy or for a girl, that seems to always ring off in the comments or in my DMs with or shares when somebody has something negative to say. But I can see all those shares, by the way. People don't know I can see it. I can see everything. So I'll, I'll I won't say that. I'm like that. Your own interpretation. I don't really care. So
So I know we talked earlier, but we were talking about the divide between especially black women and black men. And I
Mm-hmm.
had social media up here and I was thinking, and I told my friend earlier and I was talking to him, I was like, I think music has a lot to do with it. What do you think is contributing to the divide of black women and black men when it comes to relationships?
Yeah. Um, I think, like I said, I think that's yeah, social media. I think the algorithm of social media, and the platforms that we utilize is it plays the biggest divide because it's we get up in the morning and back in the day, you get up in the morning, it wasn't social media. Some people looked at the news. I look at news. I was always weird like that. Even as a kid, I just watched the news. But either way, you know, what do you look for your consumption? Now, back in the day, yeah, we'll listen to music. You can choose your music. You can choose. You can pick and say, I'm gonna listen to this, I'm gonna listen to that. Nothing was like pushed on you. You just made your choice. It's all about visibility. Social media is our main consumption. Your shade rooms, your neighborhood talks, your spiritual world. That's our main consumption. So if the platforms that we utilize use that same music and use that music and then use those type of subjects that push and trigger people purposely, then that's all you're going to see. And if that's all you're going to see and it relates to your situation that in there, then you can say, well, yeah, see, everybody's getting cheated on. Nobody's happy. Everybody's like, it's you know what I'm saying? Like, we'll use that and hold on to that, and that gives you almost like a sense of like, oh, I get it. That's what it is. There is no such thing as happiness. There's no such thing as that we have the funny tag black men don't cheat. Like it's just it's social media and it highlights it, and people like negativity. People like these things that stress them out. It just you can see that in any form, anything. People like negative. I mean, I don't think I'm gonna say they like negativity. It just attracts us to look at it. You know what I mean? You're driving down the road and you see a car pull to the side. Everybody's looking at that accident. Everybody's looking. Other than watching the road in front of you, everybody's trying to know what's going on. Everybody does because it's shock value. You know what I mean? And the algorithm understands that, especially the algorithm when it comes to views, understands what shock value is. Women and men arguing with each other puts perfect shock value. It's perfect. It's easy because we always argue. It's the best way to present. It's the cheapest way to divide us. It's easy. Let me just highlight all the things that are negative. So every time you open up your phone, you see negativity. Let me find this ratchet song saying the most craziest stuff. I'm gonna put that on the top of the shade room list and ignore the love song about happiness, or ignore this artist named Friday who did a song for I believe his father passed away, and it was a beautiful song. And I was like, this is amazing. Like his dad passed away. He did a song about his father. It was a big song. He brought him on. How he brought him on stage from growing up and changing, and it didn't go anywhere. And I'm like, well, that would be a positive thing to show during Father's Day, but you don't see it because people like the negativity or like to see the negativity. So I blame social media, not the people who say what they say. Music is a creative place where you're supposed to express yourself, no matter how you want to do it. It can't be judged or it can't be gatekept. Everybody has their thing, and you can find that same type of artistry way, way back. It's all there. It just who highlights it. That's the main thing. Sorry, I know it's a long one, but yeah.
No, that was good because we talked about it earlier. Because I'm always like music. Because when I think about music, I'm a big Jodeci fan, so I love Jodeci.
Yeah.
I like how when I put on a Jodeci album, how it makes me feel like I can go back and I know where I was at in the house. I knew who I was talking to at that time. So it's like all feel good music. And the music now, they don't even teach anybody how to talk to somebody, come up to them appropriately. Even like Tevin Campbell, I saw you had that on your post, but you had Can We Talk? And I'm like, he probably picked that for, a reason, because Can We Talk he just wanted to know that he didn't, he was scared. He was nervous, but he wanted to talk to that one girl he kept seeing.
Yeah.
So, we don't have anything like that now. So
That's
why I always say music.
I wish it was pushed more because I feel sorry. I'm concerned for my son. He's 13. He's going into life, and and I'm like, oh, I feel kind of, I don't see a lot of representations even for the girls of looking for love. Like, I mean, looking for love. Like, what's wrong with it? But it's like, where's the money at? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just so even the guys don't know how to do certain things they used to do back in the day, or if they feel weird for like let me give you a letter. Let me slide a letter to you, whatever. Or let me give you some flowers in front of the whole class. Like, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, Valentine's Day. I just love that. Like, I walk in the class, hey, got the flowers. I was excited. I don't know if that happens anymore. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it's sad what's happening, and that's really the reason why I wanted to make a change, especially when it comes to podcasting and conversations, because there's so much dividing going on, and not enough of us coming together. And I just think a person that looks like you is it should be a little easier for somebody to digest it, especially in our community, of having those talks, and a guy who can tell you like, yes, I was that bad guy once. I was. I'm pretty sure some people who've seen my podcast like, really, this is you. Yes, this is me now. But I did the reflections and I did the accountability, which I said before, and now I can talk about it and be honest about it and say, I failed. I was wrong. I was this. I was a bad brother. I was a good brother. I was a bad son. I was a bad father. You know what I mean? I just try to be honest the best I can. And just to add to it, today at dinner, at lunch with my son today, and he said, I don't think I'll be who I am now if you weren't always so honest with me. And
Mm.
when he said it to me, I was like, thank you. You recognize it because I'm honest to a default. I tell him flat out, I'm 36 years old. I'm still figuring this out, man. So I just want you to know that I'm your dad. Follow my lead. I got this. But this is all new for me. So just understand I might make mistakes. I might miss certain steps. But I also teach him how to conversate with me in a way where he can get his point across to me and when to have that conversation with me. Because again, I tell him I'm honest. I make mistakes. It doesn't bother me to say I messed up. It does. There's nothing wrong with it. And I think a lot of people feel uncomfortable accepting their faults
Mhm.
or problem. Accountability, I think, is the biggest thing we have to do. So I appreciate him for recognizing the fact that my honesty with him is the reason why he's able to be who he is. And he's very sarcastic too. So there's that part. But it's very. And we're working on a father and son videos too. We're doing with our conversations as well because I want to figure out what his mind is. And he talks just like me. So when you meet him, y'all see him, you understand like he talks just like me, and he
Oh, that's so important.
very
Yeah.
he expresses.
But I'm
I can't wait.
So I want to go back to the piece about like what you just said a while ago because I think that's a point that's really missing. That you need to be honest and accept that you're going to make mistakes. I was speaking to someone that was a well-established person in their field, their career, and I went to a conference, and it was about because I work in libraries, and so this was an established person, and they told me something that really stuck out to me, and they write a ton of children's books and they're established, and they said, you know what, we have to get to a point that it's okay. We tell our kids, you make mistakes, you fall, but you know it's going to happen and be okay with that, but just know that you can get back up again.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, because that's what I had to teach myself. Everybody, the first thing they told me that people most, will ask them, how did you get in this field? How did you become so successful? And they said the very first thing that they will tell them, I accepted and I understood I was going to fail, but I also had it in my mind I was going to get right back up. And he
Mm-hmm.
said, if you start telling children this at a young age, it won't devastate them when they get stuck.
Yep.
And it's true because as we get older, who do we become? We're still, anything that we have not resolved ourselves in our childhood, you grow up with this. And me and Nicole were talking about that. So I think that's awesome that you're doing that with your son, telling him, hey, be transparent. Hey, I made mistakes, because you're modeling to them like they can get back up again, they can learn from it. Because nothing happens just for you. And the fact you're using your platform to actually go ahead and showcase this, that's awesome too. But I'm
Uh-huh.
sorry, I took
No,
over a little bit.
no, you go with the
but
flow. Go with the flow.
yeah, but I really did like the fact that you're addressing that because I think it needs to be known because we look at when people make mistakes, just like you said about car accident, people be looking more so, like what in the
Mhm.
world is going on, you know. But in that moment, you may ask yourself, are they okay?
Right.
But do you ever think what's gonna happen after? Are they gonna be able to get up from it? You know,
Mm-hmm.
most of the time we get railroaded in situations we never think about how we can recover. You can recover. It may not be the way that you think, but you can recover from it. And so I like the fact that you're talking about that. Well, I'm sorry,
No,
Nick. You go ahead.
I
no.
don't know what to say after that because
Well,
I'm
and
sorry. I was thinking about that because we talked about it a few months ago. And on our journeys too, like our personal journeys on how to start businesses and stuff like that, you're gonna have make some mistakes along the road. You gotta be like, hey, I made this mistake. Let me bounce back.
right. And can I add to that just to piggyback off that as well as the failure? Like I think the problem we have is when we fail, or a lot of times when you see somebody fail, they stay in that moment too long.
Hmm.
You're there,
You get stuck. Yeah.
you can't stay there. You have to recognize it, process it, and move forward. And that's why I say all the time, like, hey, everything great, anything that's even innovative that happened in this world came from failure first. The first plane, that actually flew, it probably fell 1,000 times before it happened. Everything that's great has to fail in order to figure it out. You have to fail at something consistently, but get comfortable.
Hmm.
Like you have to be comfortable with it. That's why I explained to him, like, I push him so hard, like, and I move so fast with him. I'm letting him know, like, hey, don't stay there. Don't stay there. Don't fall in love with the idea of failure. Fall in love with the process of moving back up.
Hmm.
Because the more do that, and the more that you get better, you get stronger. You almost get a little excited, like, oh, all right, once this fails, I'm gonna know how to fix this and that now. Once this fails, I'm gonna know what to do. If you fail enough, you'll become so unbreakable to the point that failures, you won't even notice them no more. You won't even see.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it'll get to the point
Uh-huh.
constantly just you're always moving forward but faster. So I think that's what we as people in society in general we have to focus on is the process is accepting the fact of failures and also knowing that somebody might see your failure and we want to hide from it. Yeah,
Yeah.
my business failed the first time, but the second time I did it, like
Hmm.
nobody, that's what I said, social media, nobody likes to post their failures. They only post highlights. They only show you the highlight reel. Nobody shows you what goes into it. And the
Hmm.
fact that's all we have to look at. Well, who's going to talk about the steps before it? Who's going to talk about the steps that happened way before what you saw? And that's what I want to do is just focus on the steps and help people strengthen that muscle. Because there's trauma. There's in our society.
Hmm.
There's men who think that counseling is weak. There's people who assume of a man's being emotional, he's soft. No, like you know what I mean. Like there's a lot of things we can do if we just understand, like uh, the idea of again of accountability, failure, the processing, and what we look at, because it's all about perception. My son is very stoic, and I want him to be that way. I let him know, like somebody might say something crazy to you. If
Hmm.
they don't mean nothing to you, why does it mean something to you? Why? Why do you care about what a person says about you who don't know you and you don't value them? If I look at an ant, I don't care. Like you know what I mean. Like you know what I mean. Like you're an ant. If you're an ant to if someone's an ant to you, you don't notice anything about them. What
Hmm.
is there? You know what I mean. So that's what I'm trying to express and hopefully get to the youth because they're the ones that are really really dealing with this spiritual warfare that they have going on, and then again the engine of social media is just scary.
Hmm.
What it does to them, they're so connected that they don't know how to disconnect.
Yeah.
You know, they don't know how to disconnect no more because it's right in their face all at all times. So we have to step forward and teach them a little differently compared to what it was in the past. Like this technology and social media, I feel like is the biggest. Where do you go to get your information?
Mm.
Where do you go?
Truth. Yeah.
So no, I
100%.
tangent.
Yeah.
That's where my mind goes at always because that stuff gets me going. So, but yeah,
Yeah, because you mentioned gatekeepers. Because a lot of people they hear the concept, but do you really truly know what a gatekeeper is? Do you know really? Because people throw it out there loosely. It's been here from the beginnings of time. People are in certain positions, and they have to use those platforms responsibly. Some people don't. Some people have hidden agendas, and some people do. But you have to, in order to start a paradigm shift with that, it takes one person, they can make a ripple effect. And so, like, when it comes to information, where you're getting it from, you got to really look at what gate is coming from
right.
and what, because you can ask Nicole, I'm all about that right there. Because, like, you have to debunk a lot of things that are coming out here, especially with your kids and stuff. But I just, like I said, I really like the fact that you're addressing that because we teach our kids all the time, and even as adults, oh, you can be successful and stuff like that. Well, what really is success? Success to me may be success. It may be a different thing to you, you know? And the way I figure, if the more you fall, like it's a measure to tell how much you improved.
Right.
Like, how can you know that you're successful and you never, you know what I'm saying? You don't have a measure for it. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's the way I think about stuff like that too.
That's what.
But I'm gonna let Nikki take it on.
Okay, how we gonna segue into?
We're gonna say what
We
so.
gonna go.
Right. Right. Right.
Oh,
I'm
I
sorry,
got it
but that's like
first.
the heart of what we're big at. Like, we're big on that. We're also big on words because, like, you gotta really think about this stuff because whatever you think, you gonna act out.
Yeah,
People don't. That's why they always tell you change your mindset. You have to really change your mindset because whatever you say, you think, you behave, you act it out. People don't realize that. So,
I
you know.
I got it. Communication. Because we was talking about that
Yep.
earlier. Because we was talking about what seems to be the problem. So we talked about social media, but also communication. Uh, People with their words, different words mean different things to different people, right?
Right.
Like we had that conversation with Ava. I see her on here.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about with her it was single versus single. So different words with communication. So
It
how do you
was.
feel about that?
It was coming from me. So single. So single and single. Like the differences. You
Yeah,
mean?
with communication, just communication period.
Communication, understanding. Yep.
We have to communicate, whether it's big or small. I think that's the biggest one of the biggest issues in relationships, especially when they fail, is that we don't know how we got there. We don't know how we got so far along, so far ahead, where we like, how did we get here? Because we're missing the small conversations, the small pieces. Because those small pieces are hard to remember way down the line, but you remember them at that moment. Your body, your heart, your spirit remembers it. That cut, that wound that you went through, and at some point you cut something long enough, it continues to bleed. And it will never stop bleeding, but you don't know how it got there. And I think it's the fact that people don't conversate enough, where they don't actually build that strength. So I can even say for myself as a guy, compared to a lot of my homeboys, I communicate a bit better than them, just from the simple fact that I do that because my grandmother was a nurse and she also was a counselor, um, so she always forced me to talk. I had to express myself, and she didn't let me shut down and close myself out. A lot of guys don't get the opportunity like they should get the opportunity, but when we meet our partners, our women, they'll usually have that other piece that we don't have, so we can talk and then we can maybe at some point catch up with you when it comes down to communication and expressing ourselves. So I think again, when it comes to a lot of relationships and when it comes to any relationship, whether it's a business or an actual relationship itself, we have to have those small talks consistently. So when we have the big talk or the real deal groundbreaking conversations, I have the skills needed, you have the skills needed, you get me, I get you, I know your small nuances. Like, we understand each other because everybody communicates differently. And not everybody communicates healthy. Not everybody communicates healthy. Some people just talk, but they don't actually do it in a way where it's constructive. Or, you know what I mean? Or does it maybe you don't know your partner's triggers properly because you don't talk enough. And
Mhm.
your partner shut down, and now that conversation that y'all think y'all are having is just something to get through compared to something that brings you back up. So for me, communication is something that's extremely important, no matter how small it is. I don't care what it is. I don't let nothing go without a talk. Let's just talk about it. Because to you, it might have been something extremely big. To me, it might have seemed small, but that means that's a moment I let you down, and I didn't even know I did it. I didn't know I let you down because I didn't see this big, but it was big to you. So that's what really matters, the perception of things, and you have to communicate. So you don't miss those little small spots in situations where you let somebody down. Talk,
Mhm.
Mhm.
talk, talk when stuff's good.
Mhm.
Talk when things.
We got a question in the comment section from
Uh,
H by Our Co. You want to answer that one there?
That was the definition of single versus, I assume single versus single.
Yeah, let's do
yeah,
that one.
So single. I mean, I get. All right, Ava. So you're okay. So single. The actual definition of single is really is you have no connections. You're not mentally or emotionally connected to anybody else. You're ready to move forward if you have to with that person you date. That's single. That's really what single is, and I'll agree with that idea. Now, when people say single, single, and single, is because you're looking at the nuances of being single, right? Some people say they're single, but they might have a situationship that is right there in the background that they can always lean on whenever they feel like leaning on to it. You know, so you still have an emotional attachment to a person, which can cause problems. But I consider being single as just you don't have any attachments and you're able to move forward and walk forward with somebody. It doesn't have to be at that exact moment, but you have the ability to move forward. But that's what I consider being single.
See, that's why you got to communicate. See, I got a different a definition of that. That's why you're supposed to ask, right, Avis?
Right. But again, that's
Yeah.
somebody else can view it differently, which is why I say single, single. Like everybody's opinion on stuff is different.
It's different.
Like,
That's why.
not like dates the
Okay.
same.
Exactly.
So, Nicole, I'm gonna put this one in there. When we did Hitch by Our Code, we were asked that question and stuff like that. We were laughing out loud because it was a big thing. Because most of the time, okay, you may come across some people that think, okay, they forget they may, they're married, and they could say single, 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 and it's like you gotta go ahead and put this out here. Like, hold on, what's going on right here? Because I mean, people are more like, they live in that lifestyle now. You got people different walks of life. They just be open about it. But
You
Communication.
got to ask all the
but
questions.
you got to
Somebody's
ask
married
these
to you, or
questions
you married
now.
to somebody?
Are you, when I mean single, single, I mean all the time, not just because you right here in front of my face, like what's going on?
Like, can I
Yeah.
go out with you in public and nobody's gonna bop me over the head? And
Right. I don't think a lot of people can do that. But I see Ava said, ask, never assume.
That's
Absolutely.
a fact.
That's a
Never
fact.
assume.
People really don't ask like, and it's as I said to you, it kind of baffles me because again, I was in situations in the past when I was in that space of dating, and I'd recognize I wasn't getting asked enough questions. Like you gave me the clear route to lie to you, like you omitting the truth. You know what I mean? You didn't ask me the question, so I can just not say something. You know what I mean? Like you're making it easy, and I used to recognize that a lot in situations where I'm like, well, dang, you making it very easy for some. I'm pretty sure somebody else done took advantage of that. Like I can just tell.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody
Why do you think people don't ask the questions? Because I said that early. I was like, I would go and do,
they're
dating sites is not for me. But when I'm like, nobody's asking me any questions when she starts talking on the phone, nobody's asking me anything. I'm like, they're not interested. Why do you feel, because you're a man, why do you feel that the women weren't asking you any questions?
um, I, I I think it's two different reasons possibly. One is you weren't that she wasn't skilled in that. She didn't practice that. She wasn't skilled as far as like really probing questions. She wasn't shown it. She wasn't taught it. She didn't do it before. Because I don't think age has anything to do with how well you date somebody. I don't think it has anything to do with it. I think it's what you're exposed to. So I would say first either that she was never exposed to that type of life and never saw it and doesn't know what it looks like, or afraid of possible rejection, afraid of possibility of, well, if I ask these questions, he answers it and says it out loud, and I hear it, I can't deal with it. Like, you know what I mean? Or he might give me not, I didn't say rejection, it not working out, knowing it won't work out from the very jump, because maybe you really want to deal with me or talk to me, whatever the case might be. So if you ask me this question out loud and I respond to you, now you're conflicted with yourself. So if you just don't ask the question, you can breeze by it and do other things. You can really, you can get away with certain situations for a while if you don't ask certain questions. You
Mm.
can get away with a lot of stuff if
That's
you don't ask
true.
questions. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's what I noticed. But most of the time I think it was just they're not used to it, and they weren't and they weren't used to it. And I just again I would notice that in certain situations where a person wouldn't really properly probe me,
Mhm.
or even have somebody like I don't think I really was ever asked that question very often. Like, do you have somebody? Like I never. It
Just
wasn't.
go with the flow. Oh, that's
Just
dangerous.
on the flow, because I know me personally, when I haven't asked, it was either like, okay, just getting like Nicole was saying, you weren't interested, and it's like, okay, let's cut this short because I'm not gonna talk, too much. Or either it was I didn't want to appear to be so upfront,
Right.
because
Right.
sometimes you be too forward. It's like, hold on, I just met you, but I just want to know. Because I'm not saying I want to get, I want something right now, but I just need to know. So I
Right.
Yeah.
know how to take you. Because let's be honest, when you first meet people, that's what you're doing. You're getting to know them. And so
Right.
you need to know how you need to take them and what role they play. Are they going to be somebody like, okay, I just met you for a brief time. It was nice meeting you. Okay. Or is this going to be somebody, there's potential. Let's see how it goes. And
Right.
sometimes you may get the gist that you're being too forward. So that's just my point of view
Mhm.
sometimes, you know. But
I
now,
just
but now with this experience, no, I'm gonna ask you.
I gotta ask everything. Once you don't want to answer no questions, the basic questions, I'm out the door. So I'm not even going to be around that long. You don't. I'm like, you gotta answer the basic questions. You don't want to do that. You hiding something. I'm out.
you're hiding something. Yeah, I was gonna say
Yeah,
if people if you're asking the right way and you present it the right way and somebody doesn't like it, then they're just trying to hide something and you might there's signs right there. I mean, I do think there's ways you can do that where it comes off like I think I told somebody a long time ago. I'm like, dang, it's like you gave me a rule. No, it wasn't a rule book. What was I saying? She was telling me certain things. I'm like setting all disclaimers. It was like a disclaimer. Everything was a disclaimer. Everything, because I don't do this, I don't do that, I don't do that. I'm like, all right, cool, okay, I got it, I get it. All right. But it was like it was always a thousand disclaimers. And I'm like, well, you're presenting to me all the things about you, but you're not trying to ask me anything about me.
Mm,
mhm,
You're telling me all your stops, but you're not asking me what are mine.
mm,
You're not, what I mean, you're not seeing how I feel about it. You're not seeing well, what I mean. And that right there in general lets me know, like, all right, well, again, maybe you're not into me like that, or maybe your skill level when it comes down to dating or courting with a person is viewed differently from me. And if that's the case, our frequency is off. I'm not going to keep entertaining it. You know, because again, I think mentally and also through our experience, everybody has different experience levels. Maybe you were in one relationship with one person for 15, 10, 20 years. Well, you missed out on a lot of dating you can do. Then you jump into the dating world and you meet somebody who's a little more advanced than you. Then you know what I mean? Like I might not be able to work with you, but just because of the simple fact that you have not gotten to that place yet in life where we can mentally or we can actually have a type of conversation where I know our frequencies match. And at that point, you should end it. And I think that's what people need to do a better job at. It's like just accepting the fact that this ain't going to work.
mm.
Skip that side. Just accept it. Or if you are going to be on some bullshit, just let the person know I'm on that type of time. Are you on it? You know what I mean? And maybe they are. It's honesty, being truthful about it. You know what I mean? So I just think there's a lot of situations that presents themselves where people just their lack thereof can cause a problem. You know what I mean? So it could be your experience level. It's not that high. You don't know what it is. It might make that guy think she's not ready for me. And maybe you are. You just don't know it. You don't know you should ask that question. You know what I mean? And that's the problem with our I think what Avis also said in our conversation with our communities that we don't actually date the way that people consider dating to be.
mhm.
The process comes down to it. Or telling a woman or telling a guy, by the way, I am talking to other people. I do go out on dates with other people as well. Like we don't want to say that. I don't understand why people don't want to say. Well, I guess I get it, but for me, I don't care. I'll tell you, yeah, I'm still talking
Yeah.
to other people. But
And
it's
I'm
just,
just looking at the comments when we were talking about that, like, the whole conversation, single versus single, when we first started off.
yeah,
Someone said that cancer shop said, your actions speak louder than words, because most of the time when you meet people, you're gonna say stuff sometimes just, because it's something that they want to hear. Everybody's been through that situation before. You may not do it now, but everybody has experienced that one way or another. And so it's like, people can tell you stuff like, yeah, I'm single, or yeah, I have this situationship, but your actions are gonna speak louder. So it's just having that dialogue, like seeing that too. Um,
I
which someone we're gonna lead more into like your upcoming event. So Battle of the Sexes. So if you could tell us a little bit more about your event and what your followers and people that attend, what are they gonna expect to see during this event?
so the people who show up to the event, they're gonna see um, entertainment, right? I want it to be entertaining because that's part of it. It is a show, so there will be a lot of showmanship as far as the entertainment factor of it. Because This is the way I want to present it, especially with my background with music. This you're gonna hear a lot of songs, you can hear a lot of music, you can hear a lot of tidbits of some '90s samples, and I'm gonna put that in there because again, if you think about the '90s, it was all about love, it was all about breakups, it was a lot of conversations. So I'm gonna make sure that's part of it. But what it's gonna look like is you're gonna see a panel of men and women, and also a crowd of men and women having healthy, safe, but yet triggering conversations that are needed. And I want to come to a conclusion though in those conversations. I want to point out because I want to be able to point out the similarities between what we're saying. Because we could be saying the exact same thing, but if my perception of what you're saying is something different or it's not what I want to hear, then I'm assuming that we're on different frequencies when we're actually on the same frequency. We want to win together. So what's going to happen is there's going to be a clear cut definition, or script in place that's going to show people that we all need each other and we all actually want the exact same thing. We want to work. I need you. You need me.
Mm-hmm.
Value you. You value me. This is what I value. This is what you value. Now let's come together in the middle. And just small little stuff. You know what I mean? The small tidbits of. I could even use a conversation of. Let's say I ask for a certain present. I want this. This is what I want, and the person gives me something completely different. Now the present that I want to walk. You brought me an air fryer. Okay, you bought me an air fryer. You know what I mean? Like, thanks, cool. I might not have the same amount of excitement about it from the fact that that's not what I asked for. I didn't ask for that. Now, I appreciate the gift. I appreciate the gesture, but I told you what I want. I'm telling you what I value, what I'm looking at, what I like, and you did something completely different. But you want me to be receptive and accepting about what you did when that's not what I asked for. So thank you for the gesture, but no thank you, because I didn't ask for it. And I think when it comes to our conversations, a lot of times men think women want a particular thing, and they don't listen enough to understand what they're asking. They give you all the game. And same thing with guys. Either we tell you what we want and you assume it's something different, or we don't know how to tell you what we want and you assume something different. You know what I mean? Like we don't know how to say it to you. So I've noticed that issue with our community and also between men and women is the fact that again, what do you want? This is what I value. And if I tell you this is what I value, this is what I value. Nothing else. Now you might have saw me liking all these chicks pics and liking all these pictures of twerk videos. You might have saw that, but I don't actually want to marry them. You might have saw me, messing with these type of girls, but I didn't marry them. I don't want to marry them. This is where I want to marry. This is where I want to be with. So don't assume from like certain things that you might see out there that that's what it is. If I tell you what it is, that's what it is. So this is what I'm trying to accomplish because I feel like it's just a lot of small gray areas in our conversations that we're missing, and it's to me it's obvious because I always step back and look at things. I have to look back. I don't stand close to the picture because you miss the other stuff. I step back and look at the whole picture and realize, oh, well, that happened because that happened to make that happen. So that's what happened. You know what I mean? Like that's how I look at stuff. So that's what the show's going to do. It's going to get people thinking. It's going to have couples talking. It's going to have them maybe I might say something and the husband, her wife might hear. A wife might hear me saying something that her husband was saying, and it's like, okay, well, he's not the only one saying that.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about it. You know what I mean? Let's talk about it when we get home. Cause I thought it was just you saying that. Cause sometimes it's the messenger. You know what I mean? But when you hear somebody else with the same problem, with the same idea, or the same response, you're like, well, dang, I'm not the only one. Maybe we can talk about this. So that's what I'm trying to make happen. I want people to go home happy. Hope nobody fights afterwards. I really hope it.
No, you bringing people together. You bringing people together. They're gonna be all right.
I hope. I don't want nobody to fight. Just be happy.
It might be a little bit. See, that's what I was telling you. No, it's gonna
Oh,
be all right.
and I thought you were gonna, earlier we were talking about your icebreaker. Do you want to give them a little taste of, of what they're gonna be
Sure.
experiencing, or you
Because,
can save it?
because I'll give it because it's going to work regardless.
It's going.
Whose job is a woman? Whose role is harder? Is it harder to be a man or is it harder to be a woman? And that's gonna be that's gonna be a conversation. And I know for a fact, whether I tell it to you in advance or tell it to you later or tell it to you right before it, it's gonna be the same energy towards it regardless, because everybody's gonna pick them.
Yeah.
So how do and that's what I'm gonna do.
Well, I'll challenge I'll challenge our viewers right now. Put in your comments.
Yeah, put it in the comment
Put
section. Who has
in
it
the
harder?
comments. Start off because this is a conversation, just like he said, it can go on and on and on. So it's like even after we get off, even when he does this over again the night of the event, it's gonna still be going on because it's a thought provoking question because it had us thinking for like 5 minutes. Like, hold on,
Mm.
like,
Who has it
like we
harder,
keep
women or men?
recording. Yes.
Who
Because
has
we
it
said,
harder?
what did we say? We was like,
What time
in what
it
year?
was? What
What
year?
time?
Is it today? Yeah, is it today? Is it? Are
In
you talking about
2024?
300? Uh huh.
Yep. Everybody wants to make it conditional. Why? Why does it gotta be conditional as far as when it comes down to
Being a man is
being a man?
way tougher.
I hope you're coming out, sir. Can't And also
That's Gil Shirella
I,
skill.
I want to respond to that though, not that comment, but earlier it was about actions speak louder than words. That I definitely agree with that, but that's also the good thing about people talking because if I lie to you and talk a good game, the problem with that is I still have to walk it. So if I give you the blueprints of who and what I am, and I do something different, you can clearly see it. You can clearly see I'm not living up to what I told you what I was, and that way you can get to the point where you're like, okay, you're not who you said you were, compared to not saying nothing. If I just don't say nothing, don't ask any questions, then how a person comes to me is how they come to me. I don't have anything to gauge them off of. I don't know them. So I can't gauge you off of anything if you don't talk to me and tell me who you are. And if you don't know who you are, why would I want to be with you? Why be with somebody who doesn't know who they are? You cannot possibly love yourself fully or love me properly. It's not possible if you don't know who you are. Who you present you might be presenting to me a version of yourself that's not even who you are. And the second you heal, you might not like me no more because now you're a different person. That's why I think when people start changing and stuff, whatever, because they're still healing. They don't know who they are. So again, if you're presenting a version of yourself out there that maybe that's a mask, then
Mm-hmm.
you might be pulling the wrong type of people towards you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You could be pulling the wrong type of people towards you because that's what you presented. Now on the inside, that's not who you are, but that's what you gave out.
Mm-hmm. And that goes back
I think
to the point you tell people what they want to hear sometimes in the beginning, and just
yep,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. If you have to tell somebody what they want to hear in the beginning, just leave them alone.
yeah, yeah, because they
Just
gonna be like, you changed. You just seen the real them.
see
That's
me.
what
Yeah,
happened. That's what
A lot of people
happened. You just
get caught
see
up
the
like
real them
that.
pop off.
right. And why would you want to do that with somebody? Why would you want to be a version of yourself that's not true? That seems exhausting. Like just being able to be yourself, that's easy. You know what I
It's a
mean? You
lot
do
of
it every single
yeah.
So
And
just
it's gonna. I
be
feel like it's gonna come out because we talked earlier, and I told you about my experience with when I was supposed to go on a date, and I guess
Right.
I tell that story. So it was 2 years ago, and I was supposed to go on this date with this person, and I had my clothes laid out, and something was like, yo, he didn't even confirm with you that y'all gonna go out. Like I knew he said around like 7 or 9, but he didn't confirm with me. Like, okay, we still on whatever the case may be. So of course the day went on. I didn't get any confirmation, and I didn't get dressed. So the next day he called me, and I said, hey, well, what happened with you? He said, oh, you won't believe what happened. I said, here we go. He said, well, after work, he got off work. So it must have been at 9 o'clock he was supposed to go out because he got off work at 7. He goes, I got off of work and I decided to go to a bar. Then after I left that bar, I said, I wanted to go to another one. I said, oh, here we go again. He said, and then after that, I went to the strip club and you won't believe what happened. I said, what happened? He said the stripper came down and dislocated her knee. And I was just like, I was like, sir, I'm out. And that was it for me. So like, it's going to come out regardless.
yeah. Yeah. And when it happens to it, but that as I told you before, that's creative. It's almost so creative that I'm like, is he telling the truth? Like that's
I
Mess with your mind.
why why would you say that to somebody? Yeah.
don't seem like a good. You know what I mean? Like sometimes the best explanations sound dumb. So it's like let me just go ahead and give her something crazy. You could have made up something way better, but you used that. So it makes you might wonder like maybe he was telling the truth, but either or maybe God stepped in and said, "Don't worry, I got you."
Well,
And
but made it funny was he was a massage therapist, and I'm sitting here like, what he do? Massage her knee after that? Like, what happened?
You
You had the
didn't-
feeling hands.
okay,
Yeah.
I'm good. You need to go
Yeah,
afterwards. Like, nah, I'm cool.
yeah.
Nah.
So we got to pay attention to those red flags sometimes.
All right, but listen, that's communication. He could have called you and said, "Hey, sorry about that. I know we discussed this. We talked about this. This is what's going on right now." He didn't even give you the convenience of just letting you know what's going on.
Oh
Anything.
yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? So that right there says a person is missing uh, some stuff when it comes to dialogue. You know what I mean? Like just giving somebody enough respect to tell them, "Hey, this is like I can't do this tonight." You know what I mean? Like at least doing that. So either way, that shows
No, he showed his colors. I was like, whew,
that
good.
that's crazy. What did it have to do with him? Uh,
I don't know. People helping people out with their leg. I don't know. Every time I tell that story, everybody's always stuck. They're like,
Yeah,
I'm like, yeah, just
it
imagine me. I
seems
was just
just
like,
like it seemed like you could say something else, but then it's like, dang, did that really happen? Like, was this really? 'Cause
it
why
probably
would you
did
say something if
happen. I mean,
somebody
she come
didn't
down
set up?
fast enough.
You know, uh,
I don't know.
that's why I said what I said. I was like, yeah,
yeah, that's crazy. He's that's creative. That's I'm gonna use that in the conversation. I'm not.
Yeah,
yeah,
use
right
that. See
there.
what people talking about.
Yeah, ask the ask it the event.
Yeah,
That's,
like what's up with
Get
that?
your feedback on it.
nah,
Was
I
this really report a workplace injury or this what happened?
that's what I'm saying. Like, I just
Made up a lie, just trying to be like, hey, I'm gonna go, you know.
I want to talk to him myself. Like, come on,
I
man.
call that
Like,
the Charleston dating diaries. Everybody.
I hate that. It sounds like a lot of people have a really bad. Like anybody who I talk to, like cousins and family, whatever. Like dating, they say like the dating pool's trash. I'm like,
They
really? And I'm like, sorry. I don't know. I enjoyed it. I mean, I'm not saying it wasn't. I didn't have bad experiences, but then again, I expect people to be themselves. So I expect people to be crazy. I expect people to be nice. I expect the human condition to be the human condition. So it doesn't really surprise you when somebody shows me. Now, if I see crazy, I see crazy. If I choose to deal with crazy, I'm gonna expect the craziness that comes with it, and that's a choice I either choose to make or not. But I just assume people are gonna be people. You know, I don't know how bad it is now. I'm not in that pool, so
Thank
I'm good.
God.
It's wild. It's wild out here. I'm telling you,
Crazy.
it's wild out
It's
here because
crazy out
I
here.
think too, because more so, people are dating online more so, and then too, if you're like in your 30s, you still remember when people actually had conversations with you, and now so many people are caught texting all the time. You can't really get to know somebody texting. You know, you have to
No.
actually talk, and so I really feel bad for people in their 20s because I'm like, how much can you gain from a text message? Does that make
Yeah,
sense? Because, yeah, like if I send something to you, like for instance, if I send a text to you and say, you stupid, you know what context I'm coming from? You'd be like, you stupid, or
yeah.
you stupid. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
how that's the thing.
No,
That's the thing.
it, it,
Hmm.
ma- I would also add the fact that social media, like those if you're with somebody, you're with them, right. If you're in a relationship with somebody, you're with them physically. I'm face to face with you. A lot of people don't necessarily know how to talk anymore, or even have conversations anymore, because again, it's primarily through social media. A
Hmm.
guy might see you in public, and then you go home to message you, other than walk up to you and get your like. It's a skill to that. It's something that's learned it's a skill to it, but it's also experience that allows you to get better at it more and more and more you do it. Like walking up to a woman, courting her, talking to her, saying hello to her friends, not being embarrassed or being nervous. I mean, nervous is cool, but you know what I mean? Like that stuff doesn't happen anymore. It's all through chats, and half the kids
Hmm.
they just talk through social media. They say, here's my Instagram, here's my Snapchat. They don't even exchange numbers no more.
No.
Like my son, like most people he knows is through social media. I'm like, y'all, like, how do y'all talk? Like, oh yeah, on Snapchat. I'm like, really? Like, you don't just
Yeah.
they don't really talk, but they really just go through social media. But again, that also affects your social skills. Like that's part of our upbringing is our social skills. If you lack social skills, and it throws off what you can do and what you can be when you're with somebody. You see, if you see people on dates, you see can sit at a table across from each other and they're both on their phones. They're not even interacting.
Exactly. Yeah.
My grandmother always told me when you go on a date, don't take her to a movie, take her to a dinner first. Take her to a dinner so that way you can talk to each other. If you go watch a movie, then you're not talking. You're not interacting with each other at all. So you don't really know what y'all have going on. It's no different than having a phone in your face, or just talking through the phone. You know
Mhm.
what it is, or if you have actual natural chemistry, or what chemistry looks like. You know what I mean? So I just think, again, social media is a problem with a lot of stuff, and not talking and not getting in front of people, and that nervousness and that awkwardness. You have to go through that to get better at it. You got to, you know what I mean? Just bite the bullet, walk in front of the girl. She might reject you. Do it enough, eventually it don't bother you no more. Like, all right, well, didn't work out. You know what I mean? But these kids can't really handle it no more, or rejection, because it feels so crazy because it's new to them.
Mm. That rejection is hard though, because we talked earlier about that red balloon pop. I was like, I could never go on no show like that. So as you walk in
Neither.
there, it's pop, pop,
We're
pop,
like,
pop.
like, dang.
Especially
Yeah.
answers when they go to each person and ask them, well, why'd you pop the balloon? They'll be like, dang, like they'll be stupid, like, oh, yeah, I don't like how his just clothes look. Like, what? He looks nice, but he got braids. Oh. Or the person's job, or the person's height, or I mean, I get there's certain physical attributes, but still, like, nothing of substance is really ringing through. You know what I mean? Like, you can't lead with just the outside. If you're leading with just the outside, you're guaranteed that most 9 times out of 10 make a bad choice. If you're leading with solely with the outside, because I can think a person's beautiful, but they can be ugly on the inside, and I can't deal with it. Like, I'm, not in the long run, because we all have things we look for. If I look for peace and you can't provide me with peace, I don't care. It won't work for me. So I think that's is just that balloon thing, and also I think it's crazy. I think it's a way for people to get their feelings hurt, man. I don't know.
That's exactly what
But then too, at the same time, it does really reveal how people really select people.
Yep.
Because we talked about it earlier about how, especially like Hitch by Our Code, how they even do their consultations and stuff like that. We talked about it because when we had our feature, we talked about it with Avis. It's wild that you know what people want versus what they actually see, how the disconnect is. And sometimes I'll watch videos and stuff like that. Like you may find videos on YouTube about how people, there's like a series like how God writes your love story. And when you hear how people actually met, it's like it was the least likely, situation, and it was not somebody they expected. But they connected because they gave it a try. But it was not somebody they would just pick.
Yep.
They wouldn't have picked that person. Um,
They want to.
so
That's why I think people should not go off of, like, again, what are you looking for? Who are you? What are you looking for? What's your list if you have a list? And if you focus on just picking, most times you're wrong. Just be who you are, be balanced, and 9 times out of 10, the person you want is going to come to you. You know what I mean? Like, it just manifests. Like, it just occurs. The best situations I've had, the best situations, whether it's relationships or just engagements I've had with people, are the ones that I didn't see coming.
that part. Yeah.
Didn't see coming at all. You know what I mean? You look over at somebody like, well, dang, we work. Like, I didn't know. Like, you know what I mean? But that's the best situations. This is ones you don't really pick. 'Cause I think we're all bad at picking. I think we're bad at picking, and I think we're bad at when it comes on to choosing to ignore red flags.
mhm. That's,
We're all
yeah.
been that way. Like, I'm gonna let that one go because I like, you know what I mean? Knowing damn well it's gonna be the biggest problem in the future,
Yeah.
especially. So why do we do that? But I don't know. I think it's just a human factor inside of us. But again, the biggest thing is just, what do you put out there, and who are you? What are you presenting yourself as? Is it truly you,
Mhm.
or a version of you? And then go from there. Do the work. It's important, right? Like, our time, our hearts. It's that's the only things that our that's the only thing we truly own in this world. So why are we just giving it to anybody? I don't
Mhm.
understand why people do that. When I was younger, I get it because I didn't know any better. So I get that part. But you see people at this age right now. I met people who are my age. I'm looking like, you still think like you're 21 years old.
Mhm.
And it's, I won't say.
That's my favorite thing. I always say I'm 40. There's things that I'm not just doing like I did in my
Yeah,
20s. I'm not doing. Everybody's like, why you always use the age? Because I'm like, no, I
because you
did
did.
all that already.
Yeah, you did all of it, and the thing about it, yeah, you did it, but you learn from it. You
Learn.
learn
You
from it.
gotta move on. Do something
Everybody
different.
goes through those spells. Yeah, you learn from it. That's the most important thing. That's what you're supposed to do.
Supposed to do.
But that's what you're supposed to do. But it's just like the disconnect, as I'm finding, because me and Nicole always have like different conversations on this topic, but as I'm finding, you just expect the unexpected, but also know your values and your standards,
Right.
because that's the biggest thing. Because I think with the dating scene too, is that when you have values and standards and you stand on them, you're going to be taken a certain type of way, but you need to know that's what you have. It's going to be something that you're not going to just settle for,
Right.
anything. And you have to be like that, because if not, you know there's going to be a lot of red flags you're going to
Gonna
be
be a
coming
lot.
into. It's going to be a lot of stuff you're going to tolerate, but you need to be honest with yourself. Be like, I'm not going to settle for this, and this is what I want. If that person is interested in you enough, they'll understand and
Yeah.
respect it.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be.
So,
I agree.
So yeah, we can go on and on with this conversation. We don't want to hold you up.
I love.
But so talk about the event on Friday. What time? Where it's going to be at, and how you can be reached.
Okay, yeah. So the event's gonna be at Purple Buffalo. I don't have the address top of my head, but there's only one Purple Buffalo in Charleston, South Carolina. If you type Purple Buffalo in, you'll find it. I know it's heading towards downtown. Doors open at 9 o'clock. The show, I'm starting around 10:30. I'm gonna base it off of how much crowd I can get in there in the beginning. But the show starts around 10 o'clock. But nine, most likely it's gonna be a little later than that, obviously. But that's when I want to kind of get the show going. Um, and there also will be a chat couch, so that there'll be a couch there where we're having sidebar conversations as well. That's I got a little chat couch, and it's a little 106 in Park style. So we're gonna have an interview. Everybody can talk. I don't like I said, I want everybody to come out there and talk. Everybody.
mhm.
Everybody gets a
That's
spotlight. Everybody gets a spotlight. If you're a podcaster, if you have your own business, you want to talk about your, I really don't care. I just want people to come out there and talk and start engaging with each other, because that's what we need. Because if the more of us who are talking and communicating, that spreads out. It goes to our lineage, it goes to our friends, it goes, you get more people in their parties and cookouts and backyards just talking, you know what I mean, because they saw it, you know what I mean. So but that's when it starts. It's April 19th, the Purple Buffalo. I have a beautiful, amazing panel of people that have uh, great ideas, and strong-minded people who can present their thoughts, and again, that was something I really needed to make sure I had in place, is people who can actually convey their messages, won't get overly emotional, because that's not what we need that night. We need, we gotta be able to break down stuff and have that emotional awareness while we're doing it. So that's what's going to be. That's what there is to expect, and it's going to be a battle, a strong battle of the sexes.
okay. And finally, we always ask this question: what are 3 words that you would describe or represent sarcastically woke?
I would
Why
say
do you choose
I
them?
would say ministry, discovery, and inspiration. You want me to explain each one why
Mhm.
as well? Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, aspect of it is, I think that whatever I do and whatever we should be doing, success comes with having God in your life, and it also comes with spreading the message. And if you look inside the Bible and you look at with any all of the communication within the Bible, there's thieves, there was killers, there's murderers. Everybody inside the Bible wasn't just you know innocent. You know what I'm saying? But you also can use it to have a message. So when I say, also the fact that I try to lead with that in my life always, but I also make sure that whoever I talk to, wherever I talk to, I'm spreading the message. I talk to young men. When I see young men, I tell them, I want you to know you have power inside of you, right? I want you to know you have power. And I don't care what your walk of life is. I don't care if you sold drugs or you are selling drugs. You have a responsibility. You have a connection. You have an influence. So even if you're doing what you're doing, make sure you give back and do something good with it, regardless of what it is. So I don't care where I'm at. I don't care if I'm the drive-through or I'm the gas station. I always try to do it as much as I can, and that's what I want to present on my show, on the show that night, and also all my episodes is ministry, because it's not just, everything has a spiritual sense to it, in my opinion. And I think a lot of people have an issue with, they're going through mental and spiritual warfare. You know what I mean? And then spiritually, we can't see it, but if you lead with it, it can fix those battles of trauma and anxiety that we're walking around with. Mental health and stuff like that. Discovery is just discovering a situation, or the discovery of understanding that you're not the only person with these problems. You can hear me having conversations with people that you might be able to relate to in a different term. That's why when I talk to, like, if I talk to y'all, if I talk to Avis, if I talk to a rapper, I'm not trying to hear about your music necessarily. I want to hear about you. You. Why do you speak the way you speak? Why do you feel the way you feel? Why do you always talk about this? What's the root cause of this emotional, of this trauma, this pain, this anger? I'm trying to uplift that and figure out what it is. So I think that by doing so, especially when it comes down to creatives, if you notice that most creatives in this world, they have a dark past, especially comedians. A lot of comedians out there have a dark past to them, or a lot of comedians, when they make movies, they're always horror movies. They're good at that too, right? Because they can connect very well, or they can pick bad subjects and hard subjects, and make light of them, because that's a skill they have. But that's the discovery aspect of it. Is you might see this and it might change something about you, and it might not even be what I'm saying. It just could just be the feeling or the conversation. It might just like, well, I was thinking about that too. I was wondering, or the counseling and trauma, and especially a lot of us walk around with trauma, especially in the black community. We walk around with trauma, not realizing it. So you're hearing another black man talk to another black man that you might see, realize, dang, well, maybe I got some trauma to work out, and it's okay to go to counseling. It's okay, no matter how old you are. It's not. There's no time limit on it. We're always evolving. If we're always evolving, that means there's new mental inventory that got checked in. Now let's go ahead and figure it out real quick and then move forward. So that's the discovery aspect. And when it comes to inspiration, I just want to inspire people to be comfortable talking and expressing themselves, and know that I do consider myself alpha male, and I think I'm very masculine. But I also I can let you know that I do counseling. I can let you know that I do get emotional. I can let you know I have trauma. I can let you know that I do cry. I can let you know all these things about me and still be who I am regardless. So I want to inspire people to be comfortable with themselves, with their human nature. You know what I mean? Like, just be comfortable with who you are. Strength is the truth. That's true strength. It's cowardice to hide and lie, to people and to yourself. That's the biggest thing. We lie to ourselves all the time. So I want to understand the fact that you have power in the truth, and inspire you to change. And a lot of people who do know who I am and know who I was when it came to music and how I was and drinking and all that wild stuff, whatever. Now you see me here now, like, hey, I made the change. I made the shift. I put God into my life. I wasn't always this way, but this is where I'm at. I'm walking it and I'm talking it and I mean it. And you can't shift me. You know that. So I think that can inspire people to accept and embrace that change. Because a lot of people, even when we talked about when it comes to red flags, what are the red flags in your life?
Mhm.
Everybody's getting shifted, but you're ignoring it. You're ignoring the push. You're ignoring the changes that God's trying to put in front of you. So that's what I'm trying to do, is inspire people to walk in their truth. And sometimes the thing that you thought you're gonna be doing the rest of your life, it might be the precursor to your actual greatness. You know what I mean? That could be the thing that you require. I've done music most of my life. But also, most people don't know that I had issues with anxiety to the point where I would fall out in school and stuff because I could not stand being looked at. Like, it was too much people talking to me, looking at me. I would literally sweat profusely, stomach hurt, and fall out. And had issues with anxiety, extremely bad. So how does the guy have issues with anxiety, get on stages and perform at the Coliseum, and do all those things? I
Um,
my
yeah.
passion, my passion gave me the strength I needed. But also I realized, okay, I don't do music no more. But also me being that artist, it taught me how to think on my feet. It taught me how to be a showman. It taught me to know how to utilize equipment and all this stuff I have in here and all that stuff. All the things I went through and did brought me here. Because I believe this is my actual calling. I just had to go through those processes in order to be able to manage this calling. So we have to live in our shift and be and that's something I'm working on. Definitely. Sorry if I was long. I
No,
was
no,
just
that's
Good,
good.
you're good. Like I was listening, we're gonna end this soon, but it's just like when you meet people, you hear confirmations of different things. But sometimes we want to get out of something that's really tough, like a problem or a conflict, real fast, and you never know. God may be causing you to be in that problem because it's getting you prepared for the next in your life.
right.
And so sometimes it goes back to conversation about what success is and how you build up on it and how you look at failures and how you look at when disappointments in life. Sometimes you have to go through them so it can prepare you for the next level from like those skill sets you learned. Just like you talked about anxiety. So that is good that you were transparent enough to share that. And that's one of the reasons why I like when we do interviews with people because we get the raw version. People, we've been blessed that people that come on, they're not timid at all, telling us where they messed up, how they can improve. They'll go ahead because these are with tidbits or nuggets of wisdom, and we want to share this with other people because um it's helpful to know. It's helpful to know this stuff. But thank you again for coming on with us.
Thank you for having me. I definitely appreciate it. Hope we can do it more and put some stuff together.
Yes, please.
I'm
Thank you so much for coming on. This was awesome. Everybody, please follow him and go out Friday. Starts at 9, 10 o'clock.
Yep. Start doors open at 9 o'clock, and the show starts at 10. And if you ever want to find me, just type in sarcastically woke. I'm the only one. I made sure.
And it's good content. It's good content. I'm telling you, you're gonna find everything from like the topics that we just discussed tonight, but you'll find some other stuff too, because like I said, he has other content out there. And you also have stuff, a YouTube page too, a YouTube channel.
Yep.
So you guys can check out more, more of his podcast there too. So all his content. But thank you again for joining us.
And
Thank y'all for
thank you,
having
everybody.
me. Truly.
Bye bye.
Thank you. Everybody have a good night. Thank y'all for watching.